If you thought Tremors was just about giant worms, think again. Over the course of 7 movies, 1 television show, and 30 years of creature feature goodness, the series has featured multiple government conspiracies, gunslinging cowboys, and entire families of monster hunters. In many ways, it really is a modern American epic.
What do you think? Max firepower or this?
I go for penetration, the 458, shooting solids, less ammo to carry.
Come on, Bert, move it!
Still, there's a lot of Tremors history to keep track of. And you probably have some questions you want cleared up before you dive into Burt Gummer's latest adventure, Tremors Shrieker Island. What happened to Valentine McKee, Kevin Bacon's character from the first movie? What is El Blanco? What exactly are those asses blasting? Whether you're new to the franchise or just need a quick refresher, here's everything that happened in the Tremors universe so far. Nobody knows where the graboids came from or how long they've been underground. Given that graboid eggs can sit underground unhatched for centuries, they're very difficult to track. Still, evidence indicates that the monsters have been living underground since prehistory. A special report from the Department of the Interior suggests that the creatures evolved in ancient times from an animal similar to the cuttlefish. The first officially recorded graboid appearance, however, is only a little over a century old. In 1889, 17 miners in a small Nevada town known as Rejection died after the heat from a local hot spring forced a clutch of graboid eggs to hatch early, unleashing the predators on the community. The owner of the silver mine, Hiram Gummer, hired a gunslinger named Black Hand Kelly to take care of the problem. The graboids killed Kelly, but not before he taught the uptight Gummer a few valuable lessons about firearms.
Let's let fly, man!
After that, Gummer decided to clean up the mess himself. Once the dust cleared, Rejection's residents covered up the attacks in order to keep new settlers from fleeing their community. Gummer himself settled in town and began what would turn out to be a generational hobby, collecting guns.
Oh, dandy.
In 1989, the graboids resurfaced again in Rejection, which had been renamed Perfection, and began harassing the town's 14 citizens. Unfortunately, this was just the beginning. A team of Perfection residents, which included handyman Valentine McKee and Earl Bassett, Hiram's paranoid gun-obsessed great-grandson Burt Gummer and his wife Heather, and general store owner Walter Chang, banded together to fight them off.
What are you doing? I got a goddamn plan!
However, there were consequences. Chang died during one graboid attack, while Burt and Heather grew apart and divorced shortly afterwards. Still, the incursion was big enough news that McKee and Bassett became small-town celebrities. McKee married Rhonda LeBecq and amassed a modest fortune. On the other hand, Bassett squandered his money and ultimately resettled in Perfection.
That was my big chance.
Yeah, but Mr. Bassett...
You only get one of those in life. Then I blew it.
Thankfully, Bassett got a second chance. In 1995, after graboids attacked an oil field in Mexico, Bassett was hired by an oil executive to root out the infestation, promising him $50,000 per graboid killed.
50 G's, baby! 50 G's! Oh.
With Burt Gummer's help, Earl stopped the graboid threat once again, although not before learning that after they consume enough food, graboids actually birth a new form of monster called a shrieker. By 2001, Perfection, Nevada looked very different. Over the past few years, graboid attacks had attracted the attention of government officials, local real estate developers, and thrill-seeking tourists.
Mom, take a picture of me with the tremor.
Oh, cute idea.
As for Gummer himself, well, he'd established himself as the world's go-to monster hunter, venturing to remote locales like Argentina to take out graboids and shriekers wherever they appeared. But when the monsters attacked Desert Jack's graboid tour in Perfection, it was once again up to Gummer to save his hometown. Unfortunately, there are some new obstacles, like an albino graboid known as El Blanco, that began stalking Gummer.
Call me Ishmael.
Around this time, the Shriekers began evolving into their final form, which Walter Chang's niece Jody dubbed Ass Blasters, due to their ability to propel themselves through the air by flammable stomach acid.
Look at that. Look at that right there. It reacts with the air. Smells like a bad night of beans.
Still, it all ended well enough. Perfection was declared a federally protected graboid reserve. Gummer opened up a survival school, and a mysterious compound called Mixmaster began mutating the local wildlife into monsters. All the usual things you'd expect to happen in Perfection. Oh, and Gummer was briefly eaten by a graboid. That'll be important later. 12 years later, things have changed again. Gummer now hosts his own reality show, had cut off all ties with Perfection, and traveled the world. However, when an ass blaster sighting led Gummer to Africa, he was in for a number of surprises. A new species of graboid, one with detachable tentacles, was wreaking havoc. Ass blasters were found laying graboid eggs. Poachers were selling graboid eggs on the black market. And if that weren't enough, Gummer's new cameraman Travis Welker was actually his son, the product of a one-night stand 40 years earlier. After killing the queen graboid, Travis joined his father as his co-host, but their show didn't last. Just a few years later, Gummer returned to Perfection, which had become a ghost town, and squatted in Chang's Market. But Gummer was called into action once again and traveled to the Arctic with his son. There, Gummer made a startling discovery. When he was swallowed by the graboid years earlier, a parasite invaded his body. The only cure? Antibodies extracted from a live graboid. Violence and death followed. But Gummer eventually found the cure and stopped the graboid threat yet again. Still, Gummer's journey isn't quite over. On a remote island, a wealthy playboy is taking rich hunters on expeditions to hunt graboids. And Travis's mother Jazz needs help stopping them. And so, Gummer comes out of retirement one more time. Thanks for watching. Click the links in our video to watch more from Netflix Film Club. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get the latest exclusive videos. Plus, hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.